You're going to learn all about the diminished 7th chord that sounds like this. It serves a variety of really cool purposes in classical and jazz music. So let's go ahead and dive right in from the beginning. So let's start with what a diminished 7th chord is. Also known as a fully diminished 7th chord, it's a 4-note chord where every note is a minor third apart, or you could also think of it as they're 3 half steps apart. I would start from C, go up 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, go up another 3, and then another 3. So that's my fully diminished 7th chord. And notice that this chord is completely symmetrical. So a really cool feature of this is technically there are only 3 of them. So there's not that much you have to learn to be able to play diminished 7th chords quickly, because we have this one. If we go up a half step, we have this one. If we go up another half step, we have this one. But then if we go up one more half step, now we just have an inversion of the first one I played, and then this one's an inversion of the second one I played, and so on. That's part of the beauty of the symmetry of this chord. When you see this in a lead sheet, it'll be a letter with a little circle with the number 7. That means diminished 7th chord. The best fingering for this chord for most people is 1, 2, 3, 5 in the right hand, or in the left hand 5, 3, 2, 1. And because the chord is so symmetrical, regardless of which inversion you're playing, it should be comfortable for you. So now we figured out what a diminished 7th chord is. Why do we care? Well, first let's talk about its sort of natural place in harmony, and that's as the 7 chord in a minor key, making sure we're following the harmonic minor scale. So let's take, for example, an A harmonic minor scale, where we're raising that 7th. If we start from that note, the G sharp, and then just stack notes in thirds, we end up with G sharp, B, D, F. So that would be our 7-7 chord in the key of A minor, and this usually wants to resolve to the tonic, in this case A minor. But this chord is also used in jazz for substitutions, in particular for a dominant 7 flat 9 chord. It's a really cool, a lot of times in jazz when you see substitutions, it's because there are a lot of common tones between the original chord and the chord you're substituting in. So in this case, let's take a dominant 7 flat 9 in the key of C major. So if we just stack a dominant 9, and then we lower that top note to A flat, that's a G dominant 7 flat 9 chord. Check this out, if we just take the G out, look what we have. That's a diminished 7th chord. So what that means is if we would normally play a 2, 5, 1, like this with the flat 9, we could substitute that, and instead of the dominant 7 flat 9, in this case just play a B diminished 7 chord. So that would sound something like this. By the way, if you're enjoying this, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video. My name is Jonathan, and on this channel we provide practical tutorials to speed up your piano progress. Diminished 7ths can also be used as passing chords to get from one harmony to another, usually neighbors. For example, C major, I could go from C major to C sharp diminished 7 to get to D minor. And of course, if I style that up a little bit, cool stuff like that. And then there are also some really cool tricks classical composers use with diminished 7th chords to do a bunch of different things. One of those is to get to a lot of different keys quickly. Like we talked about, the diminished 7 chord, that's the 7 chord in a minor key. And because this chord is symmetrical, that means we could actually take this chord and resolve it to a bunch of different keys. So I'm going to go ahead and call this A sharp diminished. I can resolve that to B minor. I could call it a C sharp diminished if I consider this sort of the root of the chord. I can use that to resolve to D minor. I could do the same chord, I could use my E as my root of the chord, resolve to F minor. Or if I wanted to consider the G, the tonic, or the root of the chord I should say, then it could go to A flat minor. So 4 different places, all with one chord, but that's not all. Because another trick here is if you lower any note of the fully diminished 7 by a half step, you get a dominant 7 chord, which is the 5 of another key. So you could lower this to resolve to here, or lower the second note to resolve to here, or I could resolve the 3rd chord tone to resolve to here, or if I wanted to resolve or bring the A down to A flat, I could go to here. So one chord, endless possibilities. Some exercises you can do to work on this is to just play broken diminished chords chromatically up the keyboard. You can try playing around with diminished 7 arpeggios. You can practice adding these in between 2 harmonies. Again, it usually works best with neighbors. So like C major 7, C fully diminished 7 to D, or you could do F major 7, F sharp diminished 7 to G. And you can also practice substituting and inserting diminished 7th chords into chord progressions you already know. If you're just getting started with this and other jazz chords, you might also enjoy this video right over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.